Howdy everyone, this is a bit of an unrelated video. This isn't really related to the Pokemans or the Fire Emblems or the Guilty Gears. This is more like a diary of, if anything, for me. I'm just putting on YouTube, but I'm pretty much done with college now. Finished one of my classes I have in this last semester this past week, and it's wrapping up pretty soon, so I thought I would take an hour or two to reflect on my career as a college student. Go over some stuff, you know. A lot of interesting stuff happened in these past 5 years. I got this YouTube channel. I got 5K subs, so thanks for that. I did a lot of stuff with my hobbies. Did some pretty sick stuff. And now I'm just gonna rank my classes in chronological order in which I took them. And yeah, so my general opinion of college compared to high school, you go to elementary, you go to middle, you go to high school. High school sucked. Hated it a lot. Didn't like it. College was pretty cool. Made a lot of new friends. You see, in high school, you gotta take all the classes you don't care about. And that's kind of cringe. Because it's like, oh, yeah, oh god, but in this, well, it's kind of the same way, or was for the first kind of year for me in college, because you have to get all your gen ed out of the way. So let's start with the humanity language, and I guess how this tiering is going to be based. A Swaglicious class. Had a good professor, learned a lot, very useful in my field of computer science. Very cool, very epic, very good. And then this, pretty good, pretty good. You should probably know it, but it's not new to know. Meh. It's like, yeah, it was alright. I learned thing. It was fine. It was okay. This is, like, C tier is like, okay. This class was kinda, but, there's some things you can kinda glean from it, some things you can use. Okay, this is, you're teetering, and this is okay. Why are you even here? Why? So yeah, and for a computer scientist, not one of my first 4 classes I took for my semester is related to computer science, so these will be fun to grade. So let's get right into the tier list. So, humanity language. This is a class where I needed to take my language credit. Oh, yeah. And I hope you enjoy me narrating my college career. Alright, now let's get into it. So, humanity language. This, in my college, you needed to take a language credit. I didn't really care about learning any other language. I don't need to learn Japanese because I have Binding Blade memorized, so I can play that game without knowing Japanese. I play that game on cartridge, ladies and gentlemen, because I am cultured. I'm cultured. I can play Japanese games without knowing Japanese by memorizing the menus. But yeah, I didn't really feel like learning another language. I took Spanish in high school and didn't care for the process of it. Found the exams where you needed to, like, speak all the words you knew in, like, a proper sentence to be stressful. So I took this and pretty much was, this is how languages are made, like in Africa or something. Some African countries, they do clicking sounds like this. And you learn about different types of sounds, like diegetic sounds, which is apparently like in a movie when a soundtrack isn't just a soundtrack, but it's also a sound in the real world. Ooh, so it's pretty much stuff like that, and I didn't care at all. Didn't care, it was useless. I played New Mystery of the Emblem quite a bit during this class, because that was my first time playing this game and I wanted to beat it. And I also didn't like this class very much because there was a 13-minute break between this and my pre-calc class, and I needed to take my little booty patootie from one side of the campus to the other side of the campus in 13 minutes, so I was always like 2 minutes late, and I had to go fast, so I was usually out of breath and tired. Did not like it. It was a complete blow-off class. Like, all of the exams were take-home, so you could just, like, take-home exams aren't real exams, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure if you're in college, you knew that. And if you're still in high school or something, or I don't think anyone in my audience would be in middle school, I think I'm a bit too chill for that. But if you are here, maybe you can glean some wisdom out of the words I say from this. But yeah, take-home exams, you just kind of do, you have access to ways to get answers to the problems. And I remember, what's an example of a run-on sentence? That was something in the final exam. What's an example of a run-on sentence? And I just took the Yoshikage Kira thing. My name is Yoshikage Kira. I'm 33 years old. I live in the north end of Morio, and I drink milk and do sit-ups every day. If you've seen part 4 of the Gym Gyms, you know what I'm talking about. and I just took that, and I replaced Yoshikage Kira's name with my name, and got a 100% on the exam, so good job, professor of that class. You let me get an A in the class while doing a Joe joke. Hooray! Issues in world politics. I mean, it was okay. It's just like an intro to stuff like, oh, here's how things are in the Middle East. Here's why World War II happened. You know, it's not really a class where it's like, you know. They did show me a funny movie, though, called Dr. Strangelove, and that's a really funny movie. That's one of my favorites, where the dude rides the bomb down. That was funny. But it's like, you know, like, it didn't get too in-depth. It's just like, okay, here's how the American government works. Here's why there's a conflict in this country. And it was okay. It was fine, you know. Like, it was like, yeah, I mean, if you're paying like 2 to 3K for a class, it's like, whatever. But yeah, I don't really have much to say on this class. Now, this is a class I actually really like a lot. This is Composition 2, and there's no Comp 1 on here. I think I did good on the SAT or the ACT or something, whatever you take in high school. I don't remember which one it is. On the writing segment where I actually got to skip Comp 1 in college. And this is a really good class. It teaches you how to write a college-level paper. Very useful. I don't think my scripts on YouTube would be good without this. It's just one class, one paper, and you present by the end of the class. And the professor was really, really involved. You know, there's a midpoint. There's a midpoint in the middle of the class where he had meetings with everyone. You know, he said no classes this day. Let's arrange meetings. I want to get to know what your paper is. And I wrote a paper on the correlation between gacha games and gambling addictions, because I was playing Fire Emblem Heroes at the time. I don't play that game as much anymore, but I remember at the time I was trying to get a plus 10 Luke, because remember, like, they're grouped by groups of 4 and 3, so I'll usually tell you when the next semester happens. So yeah, I was playing New Mystery at the time in Humanity Language, and then I really liked the Luke character, so I was like, okay, gonna plus 10 this dude in Fat, because this was around the time they started doing the revival banners, I think in 2019, so I started saving up a bunch of orbs. So I was like, okay, that Mecha fellow who I used to watch more, don't really watch Mecha that much anymore, you know, maybe if he makes a new, like, scripted video or something, but he said, oh, Fat, gambling addiction. So I did some research into that, did some surveys, and the professor was just super chill, very nice guy. He was like, oh, does this have anything to do with my son buying accessories in Fortnite with my credit card number? And, you know, that's not really the same thing, but it's like, I don't know. It's hooked on buying stuff, so I indulged him in that with a little bit. So this was a very nice class, very chill professor, very related to all the students. Mr. Hamilton, what a guy, that was his name. That was the name, our Professor Hamilton. Very chill, very epic. And taught me a lot of writing stuff, so I'm going to put this in Sregalicious class. It's not really related to the computer sciences. You know, I wouldn't say issues in world politics made me a better computer science, because that was just gen ed. But, Comp 2. Writing is a very good skill to have. You gotta be able to engage in high-level intellectual discussion on certain things in any career if you want to make it through life. So yeah, very, very useful skills to have. He really liked my paper, except the one thing, ladies and gentlemen. I did all this data. I made graphs, put them in the paper, did my research, did all of that, put them in the paper, and he gave me a 98. And do you know why Mr. Hamilton gave me a 98, ladies and gentlemen? He said it's because there's no such thing as a perfect paper. And he said this to me, and that stuck with me, because it's like, I don't know, dude. I don't know, but it is what it is. You know, super chill. Other than that, that is the one issue I took with that. No such thing as a perfect paper. I thought I wrote a pretty darn good paper on why Fire Emblem Heroes was kind of cringe. I still play it, though. I don't know why. I guess I know. Like, I still play it every day, because it's like, oh, even if it's for like 30 seconds, because it's just to get the daily orbs. But I know that game is trash. I know it's trash. But for some reason, I still log on. Huh. I don't really do it that much anymore. I haven't even done Arena within the past few weeks, because that's how little I care, because every week it's like, oh, this unit has 50 million effects. You know, I just have my team of Mathis and Lysithea and Charlotte, and I just stick to that mostly. I don't really, Pre-calc, alright. Composition, okay, so pre-calc. Now this is a class where, so I had a roommate. And unlike the professor, I'm going to use an alias for this guy. Let's just call him, I'm looking at my shelf. Let's just call this guy Quagsire. Or no, that's a stupid thing to call someone. I don't know, let's just call him the guy. So the guy, I had this roommate, and you could use the website to, you know, call yourself to pair yourself with a roommate. So, you know, we had similar interests, you know. I was watching, I remember one of the first weeks I moved into the, college, the Steven Universe, the movie came out, and, you know, that's something, you know, back in, high school, you know, when I was beginning college, I was a lot more self-conscious about my interests, you know, so I tried to watch it, you know, with the screen angle, but it was like, oh, are you watching that movie? That's cool. Can I watch it? So it was chill. You know, I'd say I'm a lot more self-assured now compared to back then. You know, I made a video on the internet saying I have autism, and I think Lysithia has it also. So honestly, this YouTube channel in general helped me come a long way with that. But this, that was just related to me wanting to watch the Steven Universe movie. And then, oh yeah, we had the same pre-calc class. And this professor, let me tell you, real piece of work. He would spend the first couple sections, the first like 20 minutes of each class going over what he would call admin stuff, saying, I'm the coolest, you shouldn't believe, you know, stuff you read about Rate My Professor, don't, and then he also said, don't email me. And I just said this YouTube channel helped me grow a lot, but the 5 points was not a thing. This would happen over the next semester when the disease struck and I got bored. Actually, no, there were other things into that, but we'll go over that in a sec. Well, not a sec. Several minutes from now. And he said, don't email me ever. So this, and if you've been in college, you know, you have a question, you email the professor, a day or two or even an hour or two later, they'll get back to you and they'll be like, hey, so here's how that works. Hope that answered your question. Thanks for asking. And anyone, you know, I won't say anyone who's been to college, maybe you just had a bunch of bad professors in a row, but 99% of the professors I have, that is how this goes. But this guy said, never email me, ever. My thing automatically puts it in my spam folder. So that immediately, you know, says, oh, he doesn't care about the success of his students. And it was just so trashy. And pre-calc is the class where, you know, you do the unit circle and you get all the angles and the radians and all that stuff. And this professor is just the worst professor. His Rate My Professor page, thing of beauty. I go back and read it at the end of every semester just to see what people have to say about him. And he would just go through things instantly and he would already expect you to know stuff. And it was the worst. And he would do exams every 2 weeks. And here's how this professor rated exams, ladies and gentlemen. He would grade it one question at a time. And what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? What does that mean? That means that, say, there are 4 questions on a math exam, each worth 25 points. And, you know, you do the radian, the unit circle, calculate the radians. And he would grade that one question at a time. And what that means is that if the test was at 100 points, on the Moodle website where you could see your grades, he would put that as 25 out of 100. And nobody knew this was how he operated at the first exam. And so I went to bed thinking, oh god, I'm already gonna screw up college. I got a 25% of my first exam. And I went to bed and I wept a little that night into my pillow, ladies and gentlemen. The guy was already gone by this point, my roommate. He quit college after 1 week of being exposed to this guy. I've gone on several tangents on this thing. I think I lost track of the roommate thing for a second, but that made me remember. He quit week 1. 1 week exposed to this guy. That was even before the first exam. So I went to bed a little weepy that night, going to class the next day. And he says, why'd so many of you guys email me? I said, never to email me. Don't you guys know? Don't you know I only grade the exams one question at a time? And if I ever... I shouldn't finish that sentence. The fact that I said if I ever should indicate you on how I was going to finish that sentence. But, Yeah, anyway, this fella, and he would take the full 2 weeks between exams to grade them, so you wouldn't know what you got until the next exam, so you never actually knew how well you're doing into the class. I think I ended up with a B, which is fine, but like... You ever see that low-tier god thing with the lightning? That's how I feel about him. The only reason I'm not putting this in useless class, only reason is that I did actually use the learnings of it once. Twice, actually, because, well, once for one thing and then twice for the same thing, because you learn the unit circle and the angles, and during the summer, the first summer of the disease, I decided I'm not going to just sit at home. I'm going to do something. And this was around the time I was getting into Mathis heavily, so I made my Mathis mod for Rivals of Aether, using my computer science knowledge that I got before college, because if you'll view my next few classes, they aren't really also related to computer science that much. My first year of college was just kind of whatever to me. But I already knew coding beforehand, before going into college. And in Rivals of Aether, the way they calculate degrees is they do the full circle. So if you want something to do like a down left angle, assuming your character is like facing the left, you would have that as like 245 degrees. And I wouldn't know that precise angle crap, technically, if it weren't for pre-calc. And then after my Mathis mod, I got contracted and to do the Springtrap mod for Rivals of Aether. I don't know if any of you have seen that. So technically, this class has been useful to me despite the torment. So, it's gonna be in C tier, but dear God in heaven, ladies and gentlemen, dear God in heaven. Who knows, maybe I might actually like pre-calc if the dude wasn't a douchebag. But yeah. Intro to C programming, they teach you some Unix stuff like the CD commands to like navigate the file system and LS to show the list of the files, but like if you've never done coding before, it's a fine class. It's a fine class. I didn't have to pay attention once because like they teach you if, they teach you else, they teach you while, they teach you functions, except yeah, it's not really anything spectacular, but I'm putting it in an A. Because, like, if you've never done coding before and you're going into computer science, it's fine, it teaches you whatever. I mostly just took it as a blow-off because, well, I had to take it one, but I just played Sacred Stones in it because I never played Sacred Stones before. But somebody, and I'm also putting it in it because I remember it being the first time I was happy to do homework. Because in high school, all the classes sucked. You know, it's like, oh my god, I don't care about any of this in the slightest. But in this, when he says, okay, program me a C program that does this, it's like, okay, now I actually have to use my problem-solving skills and my knowledge of something to do something I care about. Yay. So after every class, I would go to the library and do the homework. But one time I just he started up the lecture, said new homework posted, and I finished it in like 2 seconds because I already knew programming stuff. And the guy sitting behind me in the lecture saw me do this and then just boot up Sacred Stones. And then he actually paid me 20 bucks to show him how to do C programming. And that was fun also. So overall, it was kind of an eventful class because of that. Ran into that guy like 2 years later. Said he started a startup business. Thanked me again. I don't know how that's doing. I think it's like a crypto scam or something. I didn't really look into it that much. So, yeah. So good, teaches you some stuff. I learned some Linux stuff, even because I never used Linux before. I learned how to communicate with servers, some C stuff. But you really aren't going to use C that much until a later class. But it was fine, it was good, Fun, good fun. First time I cared about it, but it wasn't really like, you know, engaging to me, because I already knew most of it. I learned, like, the Linux stuff was fine, it was cool. But everything else, like the C programming, that was just brain dead to me. Intro to film. And again, this is semester 2, so like, yeah, I should have said, okay. So Intro to C programming is semester 2. And then these first 4 are semester 1. So Intro to film This class, you watched movies in it, you wrote papers on the movie. I think I needed to take it for like a worldwide culture credit requirement because they showed movies from different countries. Introduced me to Citizen Kane, it was cool, but like, all you did was watch the movies, so it was alright. It was fine, which is why I'm putting it in B tier. They were good movies, but it's like, I'm paying money to attend the class, and I'm watching a movie. Hooray. But Citizen Kane was good. I liked a lot of the stuff they showed. Some movies I went to watch otherwise. I remember one time they showed the movie with graphic lesbian sex. And I was surprised they were allowed to show that. I guess that was my wake-up call that this ain't high school anymore. The professors can show you whatever they want. I forgot what the movie was called. I think it was called Carrie or something. I think it's the name of the movie is just like one of the movies is like one of the lesbians that's having graphic lesbian sex. Lucy or something. It's like just the name of a woman. Heather IDK. So yeah. But it was alright. I don't really have much to say on it. Masterpieces of World Literature. This class got me to read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde contains one of the best lines in literature history. And now I'm going to say it to you. It's when the main character is looking for the mysterious Mr. Hyde, because it's called The Mysterious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I forget. But he's looking for him because he doesn't know nothing about him, and he wants to know stuff about him. He knows a little bit about him. And Mr. Hyde, he isn't being found. The guy can't find him, so he says, if he shall be Mr. Hyde, then I shall be Mr. Seek. And there is not a harder line in all of fiction. Nothing in the best written shows of all time, The Sopranos, The Breaking Bad, The Better Call Saul. Nothing comes close to if he shall be Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. Seek. And the teacher was really chill. Like, I remember, this is only my second semester of college, so I'm still kind of, like, razzle-dazzled about some stuff, you know? Living on campus, getting used to living on my own, so I'm still freaking out. And I think daylight savings happened, and I forgot to set my clock back. So it's like, oh god, class is in a couple minutes, so I run there, and she's teaching, like, an art history class in the same classroom. And I get in there, and I think, oh god, I'm an hour late. And I sit in, and she notices me, and she gives me a weird look, but it's maybe she's just, I'm late. And then I eventually notice, ladies and gentlemen, that this is an art history class, because she's not discussing the masterpieces of world literature. So then after the class, then she was like, hey, 5 points. Well, what was up there? And, so I explained that, time. And she was funny about it. Yeah, she was very chill, very chill, very chill. She's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you know. And then, I will say, she was the only one of my professors this semester prepared for the disease. She saw the news articles, what was happening in China, and she was like, alright class, this is probably going to spread to America, so I've already set it up on our Moodle page, so if our school does shut down, and this was like a month in advance, like she had the read on this, she had the hard read, she should play fighting games, how much she was in the opponent's head, and, you know, so the transition was seamless, compared to, like, Intro to Film, where, I guess we'll talk about Calc 1 in a second. Calc 1. Masterpieces of World Literature. Alright, yeah. And she was just chill. The final exam for the class was to make memes for all of the books we read throughout the semester, because she was like, alright, y'all are going through COVID. I know y'all read the books. I did the multiple choice quizzes in class about the books. Y'all can just chill. So, and I, of course, did one on Mr. Sai, Mr. Hick. I mean, I didn't really like some of the books we read. I think there was one called, like, The Never Ending. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was like how it's like how people die and keep coming back, and this Russian dude took a shit in a prison, and then he killed himself because the people were making fun of him for having diarrhea. And it was written by some guy called Albert Camus. That's why I remember, because Camus is the name of a Fire Emblem character, that's right. So, I don't know. If any of you bookheads know what that is, let me know in the comments, because I forget. And then we read Macbeth, which I already read in high school, so I didn't really care that much. But Macbeth is a fun tale. And then she showed us, like, a parody movie where Macbeth is happening over a Burger King, and Macbeth is like, I will have this Burger King, it will be my kingdom, I will be the only fast food restaurant in town. Very insane class overall with the meme final project thing, right? And the Burger King movie. So, she was a fun professor, and just like that, I can't snap my fingers, so I'm doing it with... Can you hear that at all? I can't snap, I don't know how to do it. But, yeah. Very, very chill. Like, it was fine. Like, I was pretty bored during most of it, because I didn't care about a lot of the literature about Mr. Hyde and Mr. Peak Fiction. But yeah, I'll put it, like, up here, because it's not like, you know... You just read the books, right? It's just, you know, it's just a gen ed class to, I guess, make you a quote-unquote well-rounded individual, quote-unquote. But yeah, it was fine. Top of B. Calc 1. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. So I've been discussing in this class, in this tier list, ladies and gentlemen, what happens in these classes. What happens in these classes. I cannot tell you, you know, it's like, oh, the unit circle, oh, conflicts, oh, diegetic sound, because usually when you go to a class for like 3 or 4 months at a time, you learn things, ladies and gentlemen. You learn things. That's how classes work. So I've been telling you some things that I've learned. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, in the intro to film class, they teach you about, like, hyper zoom-ins, like, close-up shots, extreme close-ups, you know, wide-angle lenses, all that, how different shots are used, but I already knew all that going in, so I forgot to bring it up. Because I took classes like that in high school called Broadcasting 1 and 2 or something, where they would teach you about all the movie techniques. So I forgot to bring that up. So that is, but if you didn't know that beforehand, that is something you would learn in this class. I cannot tell you one thing that was discussed in Calculus 1. I cannot. Gun to my head, what even happened in this class. So I'm going to tell you what happened in this class from my perspective, and it's not a lot of Calculus 1. So in Calc 1, the professor gets the disease, or what we assumed was the disease, for like a month. And for the first 2 weeks of that month, he does not upload online lectures. But here's the kicker. We're still expected to take the exam on the same day, even though we have, like, 1/4 of the intellect you would naturally get while doing this class. And I just said, oh, she had such a smooth transition into COVID, this teacher. Oh, I said it. YouTube's gonna kill me now. Whatever. The virus. The disease. She had such a smooth transition into it. She had it all figured out. Not Lord... I think we called him Lord Pate. The merciful god King Lord Pate. And his plan for the disease was that he had no plan. So... Yep, so that's it, essentially. And, it was terrible. I literally can't tell you. The professor was dookie booty. He didn't have a single thing figured out. And, that was it. That was Calc 1. I do not know anything that happened in that class. You know, there's the thing about my college, ladies and gentlemen. Our math department, you know, I told you about what happened in pre-calc with the dookie boo-boo professor. Now I just told you about this guy. What if I told you that there's a community college nearby? And what people will tell you, and I'm clued in on this because, you know, I go to the college, and what people will tell you, my buddy, he pulled me aside one day. We were playing Smash Bros. I was complaining about math, and he said, you gotta take your math credits at the community college when you can, because OU's math department is the worst. And I forgot to bring up something with pre-calc, so I'm gonna bring it up now. The RA, actually, he didn't bring up the thing about the community college, but he said because my roommate, the guy, brought in our RA, and he said, oh, I'm thinking about quitting college, this pre-calc thing, I don't think it's working out. And you know what our RA said? The guy who is paid by the college to live there, so probably has motivation to not say bad things about the college. He said, yeah, our math department sucks, you probably should. And I was sitting there on my computer doing whatever I was doing, and I was thinking, oh my god, this guy is paid by the college, and he's saying this? Dear God. So, I ended up taking Calc 2 at the community college. So our math department, I guess, in our college is just fucked completely. So, based. However, there's some classes you couldn't take at the community college, and we're going to get to those. So that is this semester. Wow, okay, so we already went through all 4 of those classes. And, alright, things are kind of leaning towards the bottom half, but as we get going, I think there's going to be more things in Swagalicious. But yeah, so this is my first year of college, and then summer break happens. So I work on my Mathis mod while COVID is happening. The disease, Susan, I'm sorry for saying that word, the disease. And I think while Calc 1 is happening, I start working on my Mathis mod, because this professor ain't doing anything, and we still gotta take all the exams, so I just start working on that. And I play Halo the Master Chief Collection. And I start exercising a bit, because you don't want to waste away when you're locked indoors, because that's bad. And, yep. My train of thought here. Yeah, and then over the summer, between this semester and, like, this semester where we're gonna get to Physics 1, I started the 5 Points YouTube channel. Technically, I've had this account for, like, 10 years, but over the summer, I changed the name, started uploading Let's Plays, and here we are now. And I did that because, one, this was around the time in life, actually, where all that thing with the Smash Bros. Players, they were all getting exposed as undesirables, and then there was the thing with Mangs, you know, Big Baldy, Dr. Eggman. If you were around the Fire Emblem YouTube thing at a time, you know who I'm talking about. And he was outed as cringe, so to say. So I decided, alright, all these Smash people I like are cringe, Mangs is cringe, what the hell. So I decided, now I'm going to be a content creator, and I'm not going to be a big, stupid, pee-pee poo-poo head. And I think I've succeeded this far. Let me know if I haven't, but I have a nice little community. Everyone's welcome in it. You know, there was one case where someone in my Discord was, you know, sexually, I think, harassing another member. And I said, nope, immediately, nope, leave, banned forever. And then there was this other time in the Discord where it was revealed to me that one of the people there was in it with the Third Reich, and apparently they were friends with Mangs. And I did not know this. So they were destroyed. So I think I've succeeded in not being a total shithead so far. Let me know how that's going. If you in the comments have any feedback on me not being a total shithead. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so that's what happened over that summer. And then Physics 1, I mean, it's fine, you know. It teaches you stuff. Like, I remember a fact from this class, like, you know, the rate of gravity is when you're falling, you accelerate at 9.82 meters per second, and that's useful, because that's actually a thing in game development, you know. Like, our Unity professor, when I took that class, we'll get to that in a bit, said, set the gravity to 9.82 so it feels natural to people. So that's something you can use in your computer science career. And if you're working in a physics engine, it's usually good to know how it works. Like, you have to solve a bunch of physics puzzles using equations. I don't really remember the equations off the top of my head, but it's like, okay, so if this pulley has this much weight and it's dragging across the surface of this angle, what do you do? So it's just a bunch of logic stuff right there. So it's good to know, you know. It's like, you know, it's not like pre-calc where it's not related to computer science, so I'm not going to use it that much. Even in life, you know, I'm not going to, you know, be walking down an alley and, you know, pull out my unit circle to figure out how I can parkour off a building. But physics, I feel like, is good to know, good information. Then you do the labs, and it's like, I thought the labs were pretty boring, because they just have you do, some of them you just do the same thing over and over and over again. But that teaches, you know, data variance. You know, sometimes things are going to work out every time the same way, so you gotta, make a better experiment so things do, figure out why things are varying, why is the data like this, is there a reason, put it in your report. So it teaches you good logic skills, and it's things you can use in, life. Like, oh, my dad has a generator in his truck bed. So I need to angle these two pieces of wood to successfully slide that down, and I need to use my foot to block them from sliding. So, it's generally good. Not too interesting of a class, because I didn't really care about physics that much, even though I know that's some people's things. Like, my friend is, like, super into physics, but I don't really care about it that much. But it's good. It teaches you useful stuff. Not really too related to computer science, though, so I still enjoyed the C class more. And then in my labs, my lab partner was a lady, and we had a lot in common. We went to go see movies a lot together. So eventually I said, hey, you and me. And then she said to me in the parking lot, after seeing Black Widow, that I'm a lesbian. So that was awesome. My career in romance is filled with many such cases of these instances happening. But we'll get into that later. So yeah, I guess that's kind of tangentially related to the physics, which is why I brought it up. But it's chill. It was chill. It was fine, It's fine. Like I said, I try not to be a shithead. But yeah, that's how that went. And then object-oriented programming. Now, if you're still in high school or something, and you're thinking about going into the computer science field, this is the class you must pay attention to. This is the class that will make you money and will lay the foundation for pretty much, like, at least 75% of the rest of the things you're doing in college. Because, at least in my version of the class at my college, this is where they teach you Java and classes and making objects. And, even in things where you don't think that'd be related to Java, you still gotta know. You gotta know it. Like, I am using this currently in my Death and Tactics game. Because it's written in JavaScript. It's different from Java, because JavaScript is usually used for web pages and the code of those, but I don't know why they made it that way. But in SRPG Studio, you can make classes and objects, and there's the unit object. And, objects can have many different things. Like, an object is like, okay, so let's say weapon and Fire Emblem, so you understand it, right? Let's say there's a sword class, and there's data, so you can do new sword, iron sword equals might 5, and then you can do new sword, steel sword equals might 8, and so on and so forth. So it streamlines a lot of things, and this class pretty much teaches you what you gotta know. And it was a very engaging class, because I remember this is another class where I liked doing the homework, because I was like, okay, make a class with all these functions, just make, like, the zoo class, make all the functions you would need for a zoo, make it do this, make it do that, and I was engaged. I remember I would go home from the class and just start working on my homework, because I wasn't living at college at this point. After the disease, I didn't really feel like living at college anymore, and my house was only, like, 15 minutes away anyway, so, yeah. I just drive there now. And, yeah. So, and I remember I was into the show Dinosaurs at the time on Disney Plus, where they dress up as big dinosaurs, or I think they use animatronics. Pretty fun show. And, so I'd go home, and I would watch Dinosaurs, and I would work on this, object-oriented programming class. Very good, very fun. You must pay attention to this if you want to make money in the computer science field. Lays the fundamentals for a lot of things. Alright, so I think, data structures, yeah, because I took this after. So let's see, what did we do? We did physics, we did object-oriented programming, and yeah, so we did physics, we did object-oriented programming, and then we did, wasn't pre-calc. Hold on now, because I took data structures the next thing. Okay, so object-oriented computing, physics 1, masterpieces in world literature, intro to film, issues in world politics, pre-calc, no. Whatever, it's fine. I just know this is the next semester. I'm probably being stupid right now by just ignoring something that's right in front of me. Let's see, object-oriented programming, physics 1, that's 1, 2, and then this was year 1. 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 This is year 1. Ah, whatever. Be right back. Alright, ladies and gents, and I actually remember now that, I remember because, okay, yeah. So I had these two mixed up. Learning how to learn is next for this semester, and this is the most useless class of all time. Exclusively online because it was still the times of the disease. And what it was is every once in a while you had to go online to this website. I didn't even see the professor once, not even in a video meeting. It was literally just something like an online program the school bought to show to people. And you had to watch a video saying, did you know that you should study for your classes? Did you know that you should take breaks? Did you know that you should get this many hours of sleep a night? And this is a college class that I had to pay for. Which means I only took 3 this semester. And why did I only take 3? Because I actually took 4. I took Calc 2 this semester. And a couple days in, I got a read on the professor. And I was like, let's not have the pre-calc situation happen again. So I dropped out, got my refund, and then over the summer, I would take the class at the community college, which is why it's over here. It's in its own things, because it's after this semester, and I took it over the summer at the community college. So now we have data structures, right? And this takes the lessons you learned in object-oriented programming, and it says, okay, how can you use this in a way that's good? So you learn, like, the stacks, where it's like, oh, you push thing up, and then the top thing comes up. You learn how to make a linked tree, where it's like there's nodes, and then there's 2 nodes after that, and you learn how to make that in the form of an array. So for my college's version of this class, you took everything you learned in object-oriented programming, and you could apply it to this to make a new thing. So this was another one I was engaged in. I think, yeah, it's good, because you gotta know how to do things efficiently. You gotta know how to maximize your use of arrays. It was interesting, I'd say solid, very solid, very solid. It's pretty much just, okay, you learned how to do this, now how do you do it good? I mean, well, not good, efficiently. How do you use the things you learn, like making integers, making arrays, making classes, and how do you turn them into something that's easily usable? Intro to computer networks. Pretty much what you did in this class was you downloaded the Shark thing. I forgot what it was called, Internet Shark or something. And you went onto websites, and you observed what TCP packets they sent you. And, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, there are some things, like, oh, this, camera is tied to this house's computer system, security system. Oh, so how does that community network, how does that computer network work? How does it send to people? But I didn't really, like, I think classes are best when things are real. They exist. You do them. You do the thing. You do the thing. Right? Like, Comp 2, you wrote the paper. The paper was real. In data structures, you programmed the arrays to make the trees and crap. That was real. You could run it on your computer. Object-oriented programming, they told you to do the homework. You hit the run button on Java NetBeans, and it ran the program. You see that your program worked. Compared to, like, you know, I guess intro to computer networks. I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna get into this topic further when I do Calc 2. You know, when you're in a class and you just have to know things, you don't, you know, the things aren't real. You just have to know them so you can circle the multiple choice question and get an A in the class. So I couldn't really tell you much about this class, honestly. It was just an intro to computer networks. I'm sure if I went into, like, more elective classes, like, for my professional track, I chose game design, but there's probably more stuff with, like, cybersecurity, how to do your network, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I just don't quite, I mean, yeah, pretty much what you did was you just observed, you know, you didn't make your own network. You didn't make your own network, right? Like in object-oriented programming, like you made your own programming, you didn't make your own network. So none of the information, like the professor said, stuck with me. right? Like, I know what a computer network is, but I don't know how to make one, right? Like, I know how to make an object-oriented programming. I'm doing it right now for my freaking game, my video game Kickstarter now, wink wink. I'm doing that right now in my life. So it's real. Intro to ethics. Okay, so here's my thing about teaching ethics. If I am a person, and I'm a major shithead, a professor telling me not to be a major shithead isn't going to change that. And it's like, oh, if Elon Musk's car, his automatic driving car, is about to get into a car accident, should the car aim for the car in front of you with a 90-year-old lady in it, or should the car aim for the million innocent babies that are on the sidewalk? I don't know. It's so confused. It's like, kill yourself. Alright, I think the car should give me a revolver so I can kill myself so I don't have to take this class for like 3 months anymore. It's just completely brain dead. It's like, did you know that bad things are bad? Did you know the trolley problem? Did you know that? Did you know that? It's like, yeah, I knew that. Thanks. I know that killing people is bad. I know that hacking people's bank information is bad. Thanks. Glad I spent money on this class. Total waste of time. Useless, even. And then, yeah, which is why it's in the useless tier. And then we have discrete math. And this class is, ladies and gentlemen of the court, ladies and gentlemen of my YouTube channel, did you know that 2 plus 2 is 4? Of course you did. You're not brain dead. You're watching my channel, which means you have high intellect. Means you have good taste. So duh, of course you knew 2 plus 2 equals 4. Did you know that everything multiplied by 7 is divisible by 7? Of course you did! Of course you did. You went to 3rd grade. You know that, ladies and gentlemen. You know that. You know that that's true. If you multiply by something by 7, you can divide it by 7. Incredible. I know, ladies and gentlemen. I know this is incredible new information for you. You're super smart. Here's the thing. In discrete math, you have to prove that 2 plus 2 equals 4. You have to prove that, you know, everything multiplied by 7 is divisible by 7. You have to prove that. So what you're going to be doing on your exams is you're going to be writing entire pages of proof of why things you already know are true. And it's just, oh my god, I hate conceptual stuff. Maybe this is a weakness of mine. So it's like once you get later into the class, you have to use the this theory, and the this theory, and the this theory, and you have to use it in this abstract way, and you have to use it in this abstract way. You know, I like things with steps. I like things that a little more real, like that guy said in Star Wars. You know, like with my object-oriented programming class. Okay, I have a computer-related problem. I know these commands in Java that allow me to make this. I'm going to go do this. But when you get into the theories, it's like, according to Scrawl Bodum's theory, you need to write an entire page paper on your college on why 1 is in fact 1. And eventually you have to start using equations with imaginary numbers. It really gets out of control. It's just, to me, it's just, why? Why? It's like, I don't care. Okay, this class completely blew. Like, at least if you were getting into, like, if you were going to be a mathematician, I guess knowing how to make these stupid theories or assumptions would help you. But to me, it's like, I don't give a single... And it's not saying, you know, I can't think out of the box. You know, obviously, you have to do that. You know, you can't just say a computer program and, like, boom, you do it. You have to make your algorithm. You have to make it optimal. You have to do this. And, you know, I'd like to say I get myself involved in quite a few creative endeavors. I mean, I'm a game designer. You kind of have to be creative for that. So even though I can't make art good, like art in the sense of, like, visual art, like drawing and stuff, I'd like to think I do pretty good creatively, you know, thinking outside the box. You know, I'm not just a robot. I don't follow step-by-step protocols. I make things, but with this class, it's just like, you lost me. You went too far off the deep end. Why do I gotta write a whole page paper on why 2 + 2 = 4? It's dumb. Calc 2 is another class I feel similarly about. Pretty much this entire class is you doing derivative equations or integral, like, you know, both of them. And it's just like, you know, you have to, in the entire class, it's just like, you have to memorize all these rules, and each section of the class is, okay, this thing, this thing, this thing. I don't even remember, like, half of them. Like, cosine tangent in the integral equals, like, cosine to the inverse, and then blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know, it's like, I'll tell you the basic rule I remember. So, if something is equal, okay, so the derivative of, like, so let's say you have x to the power of 4, then to do, like, the integral of that, you would need to do, you know, you would need to minus the 4 by 1, you know, the exponent, so then you get 3, and then you would need to divide it by 3. And so, like, the integral of x over 4 would be x to the 3 divided by 3, and, you know, the divided by 3 is, like, over the under the x. So that's how you would do that. That's one of the steps I remember. And it's like, it's just, to me, this is pure this is nonsense to me. This is meaningless information. You just have me memorize a bunch of rules to solve, like, equation. It's like, oh, in this rule you have to, and why are these rules the way they are? Why are these, okay. It's like if I walked up to you in real life, it's like, okay, you will have a heart attack in 3 seconds unless you do a backflip right now. It's completely random. You would call me an insane man. You would put me in an asylum. That is what these later rules of, like, integrals are. Hold on, I'm going to try to get them up on my computer. Here, let's see. Integral rules all. It's like, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. These are the ravings of a madman. dx sin 1 minus x squared equals all of this. It's like, actually, was that +1? Nah, this might be BS. But, like, look at all this. These are the ravings of a madman. They aren't real. I need something a little more real. And it's like, yeah, it's the area under a curve. But I'm about to graduate. I have a job now, ladies and gentlemen. My job is a front-end developer, which obviously wouldn't require that much math. But it's like... And it's like, it's not even like I hate all math classes. I thought probability and statistics was good. Because it's like, we'll get into that when we get into that, but it's like, okay, the probability of 2 things happening, you gotta multiply the 2 probabilities together, and that makes sense. You flip a coin. It's a 50% chance. That's real. That's information I can use in my existence. Calc 2, it's like, yeah, you gotta do all this crap to find all the area under a curve, and it's like, okay, but if I need to do that, I'm just gonna use the integral website, which... Yeah, so I took this at the summer, so, like, the last semester ended, I took this as a summer class at the community college, which means these next 4 things are going to be the next class. Or the next semester. But yeah, Calc 2, it just is pure, I just don't even care, dude. It's, like, maybe if I went into more math-heavy stuff, I would use it, but it's like, I hate stuff where it's just like, it doesn't make sense, because if something makes sense, right, I memorize it, it's in my mind. Like biology, I haven't thought about biology in, like, years, because I've been out of that class for at least 2 years. Spamton was new at the time. Spamton G. Spamton. When did Deltarune Chapter 2 come out? That's when I was in biology. Because I was thinking about Big Shot all the time. I played it while I studied for biology, and it's like, okay, I still know things about cells, like the membranes. Oh, it's like a filter. Oh, apoptosis, my favorite word from that class. That's cellular death. It's like, oh, these processes, they make sense. They do things for the body. Oh, so that's why that's that way. Even though I don't care about biology at all. I took that as a science credit, but I still know things from the class because it makes sense. It's a puzzle that pieces together. I know, it's information I know. In Calc 2, I only remember a couple rules, never used it once in my life, similar to biology, which we'll get into in a bit. Oh yeah, it's literally the next thing. It's just Calc 2, it's like me and my friends in like our Discord, Invaders. I don't know if you know Invaders. He's like Attack on Titan YouTube with 30,000 YouTube subscribers. What do mathematicians even do? They get like a math degree in college and then they just jerk off all the day and write random equations until something works out. Who came up with these derivative rules? It's trash, but at least I remembered one rule from it, which means it's better than Calc 1. Biology 1, very interesting class. Even though I'm a computer science major and I just took it as a college credit, I actually liked this class a lot. The professor was very cool. You know, it was very funny. She was very strict but cool. Strict but cool. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but like she would joke around with the class. She'd be like, oh, haha. But the second she saw something she didn't like, oh, you're recording my lecture? Oh, I'm gonna kill you. You know, oh, are you stupid? The mask is supposed to go over your nose, stupid. So she was chill unless you crossed her, which was funny. But yeah, this was around Deltarune Chapter 2. And very interesting. The science classes are usually interesting. But yeah, my favorite word from this class, apoptosis. It's a funny way to say you're going to kill yourself, because what apoptosis is, it's your cells destroying yourself. It's your cells destroying yourself. So now I can say I'm going to commit apoptosis. Funny way of saying you're going to kill yourself. Complete cellular apoptosis. And you learn a lot of interesting things. And she was just a funny professor. She was like, in high school they tell you the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That's something they tell people so the populace understands it. I'm going to learn you real good now. So that was good. That was good. Yeah, so I actually learned quite a bit in this class. It was good. It was good. You learned a lot about plants, you know. Photosystem 1, Photosystem 2. Did you know that Photosystem 2 was discovered before Photosystem 1? Wow. And they handle the different parts of photosynthesis and all of this. Like, I didn't even have that much of an interest in biology, but I paid attention in this class because it was neat. It made sense. Oh, so this is why things are the way they are. This is why things are this way. Compared to Calc 2, where it's like, this is fan fiction. What? This is nothing. You made this up. I'm gonna kill you. But, like, is there a word for that? Is there a word for that way of thinking? I'd be interested to know in the comments if that's like a condition or something, or a certain way of thinking that I just don't know the word of, the way I'm thinking about these classes. But yeah, Biology 1, I'd recommend, you know, if you need a science credit in your college, it's neat. It's just interesting. You'll learn some stuff. Very good. Not too related to computer science, but it's not like Intro to Film, where it's like, okay, I watched a movie, cool. Sophomore project. This is the first class that's going to really test your skills, because in this class, they say, form a team, make something, and, well, they teach you some stuff. Like, they teach you about the Scrum cycle, they teach you about sprints, which are useful skills that I now use in my front-end development job for the company I work for. Very nice, very good, very good, very good. So, sophomore project. I'm going to put this, like, up there with object-oriented programming, because it really... I'm going to put it above it, because you get to make something. They don't tell you what to make. It's not like, okay, make this program like you do. You have to make a team, and you have to make something, and you have to apply the Scrum cycle, and it teaches you skills, like, oh, who's the product owner, who's the Scrum Master. My boss, who I talk to most of the time, is a Scrum Master, so that's fun. At my front-end development job. And it's just very fun, because you just get to make whatever you want. You get to let your creative juices flow, and I was actually the product owner, so... yeah, and so what I did was we made a parody game in Unity called Kiltris, where one player would control the falling blocks, and the other player would play a player, and what made it interesting was there was like a little platforming character, and they could jump on the blocks, so it was like one player generated the terrain, and the other player could like jump around it, and it was dynamic in that way, because it was always new terrain. And I actually still get recognized for it in some of my comp sci classes. They're like, oh, you were the Kiltris guy, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you remember that? Oh. And, yeah, you get to let your creative juices flow. And working in Unity was fun. Working with the fellas was fun. Very good. And I actually got a letter of recommendation from this class because I product owned so hard. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I like to be a silly guy. You know, when I see a Chingling appear on my screen, I go, ah, Chingling! But I also like to be a bit serious in my craft. So the professor actually liked this project so much that I got a letter of recommendation from him, and that is actually part of the reason I'm employed to this day. Because when you get a letter of recommendation of one of your professors, that's good. That is someone with like a PhD saying, "Yo, this guy's hot stuff." So that, if you're in college going through it right now, in one of these project classes, make it your goal to wow the professor, because he liked it a lot. Because it was a multiplayer game. Everyone in the class loved it. I think it was like unanimously like everyone's in the class's favorite project. It was good fun. Good fun. And he pulled us all aside and the entire team and said, "Yo, I'm gonna give you guys letters of recommendation." So that was very chill. Definitely one of the highlights of college for me. By the way, after Calc 2, this is the new semester. So right now I'm taking Biology 1, Sophomore Project, and Computer Organization. So only like a 3 class semester. And Computer Organization, it's fine. Like, you learn assembly. I remember when I was taking this class, Sham Sheenley in my Discord, I posted some assembly I was making, and it's like, we use the MIPS assembly language, and I guess he was using the same thing at the time, and he was like, "Oh, the MIPS, baby, it's all about the MIPS." Because, like, that thing where, like, the Mets meme, where the Kingpin was like, "Oh, it's the Mets, baby, all about the Mets," that was going on. So that was pretty funny. Thank you for that, Sham Sheenley. That was a funny Joa J. And it's like, yeah, so I did like 2 coding assignments with MIPS, and that was interesting to learn assembly. Maybe I could apply that to, like, if I ever try to make, like, a mod of Pokemon Red, since that's written in assembly. But the entire class is just, it's a know class. It's not a do class. And I think doing is the best way to know. And if you do the know without the doing, I just forget everything after the class ends, because I'm just trying to score well on your multiple choice exam. And this class is pretty much just like, you know, oh, your computer can have 2 processors. It's pretty much all the pieces that go into the computer that make it a computer. But I couldn't tell you anything about it, dude. Like, I couldn't, like, nobody, like, it's just like, the professor gets up, he writes some stuff down, and you just gotta know it for the multiple choice tests he did every 2 weeks. And I was just like, ugh, I want information that I'm gonna remember. You know, why not have a lab where we build a computer? Have a lab class where we build a computer, have a bunch of computer parts in the lab. You know, we don't get to keep them, we disassemble them by the end of the semester, but why not have us build a computer? Then I would know computer organization, ladies and gentlemen. You know. But with this, it's just like, and you also did like, oh, what's this hex number equal? Because you gotta know the bits, ladies and gentlemen. And the bit stuff is kind of fun. Like, in those old NES games, it's like, oh, the maximum ruby count in Zelda 1 is like 255, because 256 is as far as you can go with like a 4 and 8-bit thing. So I like looking for stuff like that in like old software. Like, okay, so this is where they reach like the bit limit with that and how much data and memory they wanted to allocate to that. But other than that, so it's kind of neat. But I already had that interest before going into this class. But the primary, most of it was like, okay, what makes the computer tick? And it's like, you didn't really do any of that. It was just facts you had to know for the final. So, like, the 2 neat things were like, yeah, I'll give it a B, and it's technically more useful than, like, I guess I got more out of it than Intro to Computer Networks, but, like, it's just so whatever, so it's fitting for B. Software Engineering and Practice, another thing you gotta pay attention to. Going up here. This teaches you about unit tests, which is another thing I do for my front-end software job for the TypeScript files. I write unit tests. So that pretty much, it's like, okay. So, in object-oriented programming, you know how to make the program, but do you know how to make it not complete shit? So you write unit tests, and what unit tests are they are tests they write to make sure whatever function you write works in your classes or whatever. And it's very useful, and this was another project class. Oh, I forgot to mention, when we transitioned to computer organization, I think that was a new semester, yeah. Yeah, alright. So yeah, so software engineering and practice, design and analysis of algorithm, theory of computation, these are all together. So computer organization, software engineering, design and analysis of algorithm, right? Alright. And the unit test was very useful. Use this in an area review. Say, oh, I write JUnit tests. So that was good. This will get you ready for jobs as well. And then there was another project class where you just, it was like sophomore project, but like less cool because the entire class wasn't dedicated to it. It was like, okay, make this thing, make tests for it, make a piece of software, yeah. So, you know, object-oriented programming teaches you how to, you know, make a program, make it good. Well, not how to make it good, just how to do it. Data structures teaches you how to refine that a bit. And software engineering and practice, okay, now make a program that is shiny, it works, it has tests, so you know it works. It's hard to describe a unit test to someone who doesn't know it. It's like, you write a bunch of tests to make sure a function you make. So let's say I want to make a function that, like, gets a percentage or something. So, like, it just does the math for that. You make tests to make sure in every possible circumstance that works out, right? Yeah. And then, yeah. So that was good. That teaches you stuff you gotta know. You gotta know how to do these things. You gotta know how to make your program good. Gotta make sure it works well. Design and analysis of algorithms. This is another thing you gotta know. It's more, you don't really do any programming stuff in the class. You do how to do it good. So, like, there's this thing where it's like the big O. And that's how you, like, measure how optimal a program is. It's like, okay, so if you have a while loop and the while loop and the while loop and the while loop and the while loop, it's like, okay, your program is gonna run forever. So you gotta learn how to make, I'll get big O notation up on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. So you pretty much learn a bunch of stuff like bubble sort. They teach you a lot of the basic algorithms. So, like, ON is like the big thing, where it's like, oh, your program just runs. Let's just say you have, int 1 equals 2, int 2 equals 2, or 3, just make them different things. Then you print out to the screen, you know, so print out to the screen int 1 plus int 2, and then the screen would print 5, right? So that's just ON. The program just runs, and there's not really any variables you gotta get into it. But when you add while loops, and you add this, and you add that, and your program just keeps getting more and more and more, you know, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you about, like, you know Yandere Simulator, you know that meme where it's like, okay. So I'm going to show you what an algorithm is for those who don't know. So, Yandere dev if statement. I'm just going to Google this real quick. Alright, yeah. So let's get this up. Reddit.com. Alright. Okay. So with this guy's algorithm for this is just to write, if, you know, the number is even, return true. And, you know, and he writes this, and this is so many if-else statements, you know, it's like, but what you can do is you can just make, like, if, you know, number, because that's just his number. He should have named it something. This dude doesn't know the practices. You should name it, like, even odd number, like something to indicate what the number is, right? What the value actually means. So this guy's just trash in general. You could just do, you know, number mod 2, and mod is division, but it returns the remainder. And if, alright, sorry, I had to make a cut there. So essentially, right, if number mod 2 equals 0, because if the remainder is 0, then that would be an even number, return true. Else, false. So that is actually, okay, so you thought about it before you implemented it, and then you wrote it down. Okay, so that's your algorithm for that compared to this, which is just shit. Whoops. But anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much what the algorithm class is all about. Learning how to make your algorithm so it's actually good. It's good. It's, you know, bubble sort. You know, you take some things from data structures. It's like, okay, you have this tree. How do you properly sort through all the nodes to get to the place you want? Stuff like that. And it's good to know, but I'm only going to put it in like A tier because the professor was so annoying in this class. He was the worst. It's like, dude, the exams were so dumb. He literally made them like the same. He just for the exams he just literally took the same problems for the homework, put them on the exam, except he graded them differently. So it's like, yeah, he used like different grading standards. So you could literally put like the same answer you put on the homework, which you got 100% on the homework, and then in the exam you would like take point offs. It was dumb. That guy was so damn annoying. But in terms of usefulness, right, making things good is good, but in terms of my experience with the class, I wouldn't really like it that much. I'll put it below, like, I don't know. Like, it's good to know all this, but it was such an annoying class, dude. Theory of computation. In this class, you make Turing machines, and they're pretty much logic puzzles. Like, oh, make a machine with AND XOR gates with this many points. You don't know what I'm talking about? Doesn't matter. You're not going to use it very much in your computer science career. I'm going to guarantee 95% of you. It's pretty much just logic puzzles like, oh, draw the circles in the nodes so they don't exceed this many points, and here's what a Turing machine is. Blah. Who cares? Sorry, I had to cut again there because people are being annoying outside my room. Linear algebra. And my room is where I record things. Linear algebra, it's like, it's more useful than the other math class, because this is pretty much like matrix algebra, you know. And if you're doing like, where it's like, oh, you have a grid of 2 by 2 and they have numbers and all the things, but it gets so nonsensical by the end, you need to memorize this theorem that has like 20 steps, and if you get one step wrong, the entire thing falls apart, so I hated it for that reason. But, you know, it could be good, because in computer science, you're going to be, you know, working with, you know, arrays. God, what are the names? God, I'm just so stupid. I literally knew this before I started the recording. And no, I don't. I sometimes when I have to call information, whatever, double arrays, double layered arrays, you know, because that's just like a matrix. That's pretty much what a matrix is, so it's good to know. But the professor was so damn stupid. He gave a dude a 0 on the final for turning it in 1 minute late on a Friday. He signed a paper that was due on Monday, and it had to be like 10 pages about the real-life application of something we just learned. God, well, it's not a double array. That can't be there. Has to be like another word for it. I know, I literally knew the terminology before recording this, but I'm getting tired, and now people are annoying me outside my room, but whatever. You know what I'm talking about if you've ever done this stuff before. And, you know, it's good. You gotta know how to do math for that if you're gonna get real deep into it. But the professor was just so dumb, and I haven't really made much use of it yet. Such an annoying dude. Such an annoying dude. Again, this tier list may seem biased, but it's about my college experience. This is essentially a diary for me. I'm reflecting on college. Game design. This is... Oh, by the way, I took this over the summer. So after I just graded algorithms, then we're in the summer semester of linear algebra, and now we're in some of the final semesters here. So now this is game design. Very fun class for me. You didn't program in games, you learned about this. Like, Ed Myers, the guy who made Civilization, he's like, each game is a series of interesting choices, and that's an interesting... You learned the philosophy of it, right? It's like, okay. So, we watched lectures where, like, oh, testers... Okay, we had testers play our game, what did they get wrong? So it was more about the process of it, right? Like, each project, you had to do, like, tests, see what people did, what they did wrong, take feedback. The games were simple, because this wasn't the class where you coded them, so, like, the teacher provided, like, an engine that was pretty much drag and drop for people to use. I didn't use that, right? Because by this point, I had been making games for hobbies for a long time. So for my group, I pretty much did all the programming of it, and I made more complex stuff than the rest of the class, but it was still fun. Very fun class. Professor was engaging. You ought to write papers. Like, I wrote a whole paper on why the UI of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon is well designed. The user... It teaches you... I didn't learn user experience in any other class in my college career. User experience, very important thing you need to know. If you tell people in job interview you know UX, good boy points for you. And I didn't learn that in any of these other college classes, right? So important to know, like, yeah, teaches you group skills. And this class was actually very important for another reason. And I'm going to tell you, if you're going into college, you never... ever want to be the bum in your group projects, because every group project has a bum, right? You know, the guy who just doesn't do a lot. But if you are exceptional, that could lead to career opportunities. So I have my current job right now, my front-end development job, because of my game design class, because I programmed all the games. The other guys came up with, like, the documentation sheets, and all of that came up with the other stuff, the mechanics. I programmed it. And I also came up with the ideas. I did everything everyone else did and more. So what happens when, like, next semester, when I'm in my game programming class, well, I'll tell you what happens next semester. One of the guys on my team, he says, hey, my company has something open for an internship. Is anyone interested? And I said, oh, I'm interested, because I was on the team with him, and he said, oh yeah. And he told his boss, you know, oh, this guy's great, he did all the coding, and then I did the 4 interviews, and now I'm a front-end developer. So, in a game design, you would not, like, I did all the career fairs. Those career fairs are total shams, by the way. They're just like, oh, do an online application, we'll never look at it, but ha ha ha. You know, so, you gotta know people, you gotta be the guy. You got to be the guy, and imagine this goes beyond just computer science, right? You have to be useful, and you have to leave an impression if you want to get these cool career opportunities. And this is just like, you know, he interned there the summer before me, and now it's my part-time job because it transitioned from an internship into a job because I actually did a good job at it. But, yeah, very cool. I'm going to rate it above Comp 2 data structures. Yeah, it was just a very fun class, and it got me where I am now. It literally got me where I am now. You can never forsake these opportunities, and you know what? There was a bum in that group. For our entire semester, that guy didn't do one damn thing, and I can guarantee you, you know, none of us. And I used another guy from my class as a reference, because I didn't have, like, a computer science job before, so I used, the guy I made the Springtrap mod for Rivals of Aether for, and I used another guy on the project, who I also befriended, and when the company called him up, he said, yeah, well, she now it's a she. Back then it was he, but now it's a she. I don't really know what they were when this call happened, but I'll just say she from now on. She said, yeah, they were great. So that was a good reference. So this game design class I was in made my career what it is now. Never be the bum, ladies and gentlemen. Never be the bum. Taught me a lot of interesting things. Got the perspective from a lot of interesting game designers. And I'm doing good. Taught UX and stuff. This class, it was whatever. It taught you SQL. SQL is pretty boring. And then when I went to an internship interview for not the internship I ended up taking, like, I had 2 interviews by the end of it, one I actually did get from the career fair, but of all the career fairs I attended, that was, like, the only actual result, so, like, 1 in, like, 30. And they said, oh, do you have any experience with databases? And I was like, yeah, I took a class that taught you SQL, and they're like, oh, we actually use NoSQL now, and so do a lot of other people, and it's like, oh, okay, it's going above linear algebra. Multicultural communication. This wasn't interesting. It was just like, oh, it taught you about the history of racism across the world, how different cultures interact with each other, the gay struggle, and it was informative, right? You know, it's always good to get new perspectives on stuff, but as a class, it was just like, okay, you know, whatever. In the final paper, they were like, oh, write about inclusion you see in media you saw elsewhere. So I got to write about, like, Bridget from Guilty Gear, and that was fun, because I like Guilty Gear. So it was alright. Like, I would put it in, like, the intro to film tier, where it's like, it was interesting, but it's, like, not doing much for me. And I had to read, To Kill a Mockingbird again, and that was boring. Because I already read it in high school. Programming languages. This is the class that teaches you how to program programming languages. So you know how in other programming languages you write if-else statements? How do you write something that writes an if-else statement? And it's like, yeah, actually, this is now a semester. So we have fundamentals of operating systems, statistics, and game programming. Okay, so after the last class I just discussed, now we're in this semester, then I took my internship over the summer, then it's the last semester. Okay, so now we're in that transitioning period. Programming languages. And I just didn't really care. It was just so annoying. It was really abstract, I'd say. Like, I don't know, it was just so annoying. Like, because the way the commands worked and the things you used to, like, actually write the programming languages was just dumb. I didn't like it very much. And then, like, I looked into the tool, like, they had us writing it in, and it's like, oh, this is something that's used for students, and it's not really useful, so it's like, I guess some of the information was interesting, but it's like, whatever. I'd put it above this. game programming. This was the Unity class, and it was fun. The final project was making whatever you want. I haven't really showed it on this channel yet, but maybe if I do like a version 2 of playing all my games again, I'll show it. Teaches you Unity, teaches you stuff. We had sample projects we could play around with, and the final project was making your own thing. Very fun class. I would put it up here. I already knew a lot of Unity stuff from my experience making the Kill Triss for the sophomore project, but it was fun. Very good. Professor was fun. She was a League of Legends shill, though, so that was a bit disappointing. A very chill professor, though. Very cool. Taught us a lot about itch.io. I was already using itch beforehand, but very informative class. I liked doing it. It was good. It was fun. When we're getting to the end of this, I guess I'm being less descriptive because I'm tired of talking for like 2 hours, but I guess in details of this class, you know, they taught you Unity and they taught you how to use it. And it was good. I liked it. You know, when you like something, you don't really have that much to say on it compared to pre-calc where I complained about it for like a half hour. Fundamentals of operating system. This is where we pick back up with C. Like intro to C, this is where we pick back up with it. And it teaches you interesting stuff like threading. Threading with C, it's like, oh, in a normal C program, it's like, oh, just one processor does it, but then you thread it, it's like, oh, now you're doing 2 things, but oh, now they're running at the same time. What if process 2 finishes before process 1? And then that's where you get locking and all that, and it gets in depth. I liked it. Some of it got a little, I didn't really care. Like, I liked the C programming bits of it. I don't really remember much else of it, to be honest, but it was, like, I'd put it in high B. Like, this is where you pick back up with C, but it's a little bit more niche, right? I don't think, right, okay. An object-oriented programming must know. Software engineering and practice must know. Data structures must know. Design and analysis of algorithm must know, but I just had an annoying time with the class. The fundamentals of operating system, if you're not really going to work like too in-depth with C and Linux, you don't really have to know this, right? I haven't really used this, but it was good. You learned a lot of interesting stuff, you know, passing back between processes. If you're working on like a parallel thing, which we're going to get into in a bit, then you know, then I guess it could also be good for that, not just on an operating system level. So you could apply the knowledge a bit to the future, but it's alright. Statistics. This is actually a math class I enjoyed. Surprise, surprise. Like I said in my Calc 2 section, because it's real. You know, you're not just learning random rules that apply just because. You know, you're learning, oh, so if you do this, this is the probability of that. And they taught it in a way that made sense. Like, you draw these 2, you know, circles, you know, one of those graphs. God, I can't believe... How am I forgetting the name of what these graphs are called? I'm so stupid. Literally about to graduate college, but I forgot the name of the graph with the 2 circles in it. Graph with 2 circles. God damn it. I'm gonna kill myself. Venn diagram, dude. How could I forget the name of a Venn diagram? I'm so stupid. But it's like, oh, the probability exists within the Venn diagram, but oh, I'm gonna color in the outside of the Venn diagram, and they just showed it in ways where it's like, okay, this makes sense. So the Venn diagram and the parts that are colored in represents the probability of this event. And it's like, oh, if, you know, you do an event and there are possible as 6 events, but then you take the event out and then there are only 5 events, well, then you do, you know, the fraction factorial, and it's like, oh yes, this makes sense. These are things I can use in my life, in my programming, and now I know this. Wow. Compared to, like, Calc 2, where it's like, yeah, dude, go kill yourself. So statistics, I would actually put this in A. And I had a lot of fun with this class. Made a female friend. We hung out a lot. Had a lot of similar interests. Asked her, hey. And then she said, oh, I thought you were gay. We're still cool, though. We're friends, because, you know, I'm not a total shithead. I can be friends with women. You know, but it's like, that happening twice over the course of my college career. Instead of her being gay, she thought I was gay. And I must stress, ladies and gentlemen, that I am not. I am not. So yeah, that was fun. But statistics teaches you stuff you can actually know and use, and it didn't make me want to kill myself while I was there. Alright, internship. So this actually, in my college, you can take an internship to get a credit, so I counted it. But this is like, okay, so I spent all of these years in college learning these things, and now I can finally use it and make money. And that was such a good feeling. Finally getting into a job. Okay, I have the unit test knowledge from this. I have the object-oriented programming from this. I have the not making stupid decisions from this. I have the this. I have the this. So it's so nice when all the classes, when all the information finally comes together and you have a job and now you're making money. And front-end development, we use Angular, so that's HTML, CSS, and TypeScript. And most of the information for my classes went into TypeScript. And then, the Scrum cycle. Sprints. I learned that in my sophomore project, so it's the fusion of everything. And it's so satisfying. It's so good. So good, so good, so good. And it helps with jobs, too. Like, if you go through college, at least for this field, I don't know about other fields, and you don't get an internship, not a good look, G. You got to get a job. You got to get an internship. The career fairs are scams, but if you're good in your group projects and your game design class, who knows? The doors might open, and my boss is super chill. Like, I still work for them even though my internship ended. And now we're on to the final semester, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm still currently doing. So you could say this tier list is a bit premature, but I'm wrapping it up. Like, I feel like I know what I'm gonna know for the most part of it. Information security practices. First day of class. I actually finished this class already since it only lasted half a semester. First day of class. Professor comes in, she says, I don't care about this class. They're making me teach it because they have nobody else to teach it. So you already know this class is gonna be fun. And then she just reads from the textbook for the entire 3-hour lectures. There were gonna be labs, but she canceled them because she didn't feel like doing them. So that, like, Intro to Computer Networks class, this was going to be the class where I actually used that. You know, you were going to be a hacker man. You would figure out how to actually use your TCP packets to hack into systems. But all the exams ended up being multiple choice questions saying, what is a hacker? And then a hacker is someone who hacks. And that was the answer to the question. So, yeah, it's literally just, she didn't feel like teaching the class, so she didn't. So, it's literally... I learned some things, which makes it better than, like, ethics, where it's like, did you know killing people's bad? Web and mobile systems. Very good class. Very good class. I already knew this because of my internship, but it teaches you HTML, CSS. So during my internship, I picked that up naturally. But it's a very good skill to have if you ever want to make your own website. I would put it, like, about here. The guy, our professor has no exams, so that's very cool. He just says, hey, if you know how to do it, you'll do the assignments good, and that'll be that. So yeah, if you ever want to get into website development, it's HTML and CSS are a lot easier than they appear. Are just a lot easier than most other programming languages. But it's the JavaScript is what might trip you up. Like, if you just don't know anything about programming, and you want your website to have, like, actual code functionality, if you didn't take, like, an object-oriented programming class and, like, all of that, then that part might be rough for you. But overall, I'm having fun with it so far, probably because I already knew all of it from my time in my internship. And then senior capstone, this is surprising, but, like, I'm just not enjoying this as much as, like, sophomore project. This is another thing where it's like, okay, just do whatever you want, show what you learned. So, like, the sophomore project was the halfway point, but I am just not feeling my group as much, if I'm being honest. It's like, one of our members is just so ChatGTP brained, it's like, oh, hey, we have to write this paper. Oh, I put the prompt in ChatGPT and now I'm putting it in our paper. And it's like, dude. And it's just like, I'm just kind of burnt out at this point. Like, I already used all my creativity that I'm willing to give to a college, right? I'll put it in B. I'm just not enjoying it as much. Like, I already had the one project and now I gotta do another one. It's like, how many projects do I gotta do? And then parallel and distributed computing. Still taking this class. Again, this is kind of where you pick up with computer networks. Actually, no. No, I misspoke there. This is kind of where you pick up with, fundamentals of operating system. And what this is, it's like, how can two systems work together to make a thing? It's like, okay, so you have this Windows system and you have this Linux system. So they're parallel because there's two of them. And now you gotta make a program. So again, this is another group project, but I'm not heading this one at all. I'm just doing stuff. We have to make a web application, and since I'm literally a front-end software developer, yeah, they're just having me do the front end of that, making the UI and everything, so I'm hoping to not get too involved in this, because I just don't really care that much. When it gets to more of this, like, you know, different processes and things, and now you're bringing, like, actual physical computers into it, you kind of start to lose me. I care more about, like, the making of programs and all that. But it's interesting, you know, it's a pickup from operating systems with the threading and all of that, and the parallelism. And I guess it's kind of a pickup from computer organization, because that's where they first teach you about processors, like using more than one at once. But in this, you're using multiple computers at once, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'm enjoying this class a medium amount. Like, the professor is fine. Like, I'll put it like here. It's like, yeah, I'd say I liked it more than computer organization, or I'm liking it more. Like, you know, it's ending in a couple months. Like, it's ending in like 1 month. Because, you know, by the end of November is when they start wrapping up classes, so I pretty much know what I'm in for at this point. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my college tier list. How about that? So at the top we have internship, sophomore project, object-oriented programming, game design, game programming, software engineering and practice, web and mobile systems, data structures, comp 2, intro to C programming, physics 1, biology 1, design and analysis of algorithms, statistics, fundamentals of operating systems, masterpieces of world literature, parallel and distributed computing, computer organization, intro to film, multicultural communication, intro to computer networks, senior capstone, database implementation, programming languages, linear algebra, issues in world politics, pre-calc theory of computation, humanity of language, calc 1, calc 2, calc 1, discrete math, information and security practices, learning how to learn, intro in science and computer engineering. So yeah. Actually, let's get this back here. And this is the tier list. Alright. So, yeah, overall, you know, as you can see, the biggest tier is Swagalicious class. So I'd say overall, I've enjoyed my college career that's going to be over in a little over a month. Taught me a lot, got me a job, got me a lot of new friends, and I had a lot of personal growth over it. Like, I'd say I'm a very different person now compared to the end of high school, compared to that I am now. And part of this is part of this YouTube channel. So thank you for indulging me in this bit I've been doing for like 4 years now. And I hope you enjoyed my explanation of me, the history of me getting my computer science degree. Again, this is mostly for me. I just kind of wanted to reflect, but I thought it'd be interesting to kind of share that. And with that, I'll be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.